Alrighty then. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to episode 4 of the Hockey Stories series. As you know, playing in the National Hockey League is a privilege that only a large amount of hockey players get to experience during their careers. Whether it's being selected by a franchise in the entry draft or by signing with the team as a free agent, the several hundred players in the league would love to make an impact for the team that gave them a chance to make it a first impression. Suiting up for one NHL franchise is a dream come true for everyone, but no player's name has been seen on more NHL teams than this one. In fact, this is the story of Mike Sillinger, the man who took to the ice for 12 NHL teams. Now, in order to properly research this player's unexpected journey in the league, let's go back to the very beginning where it all started. Let's go back to June 20th, 1989 during the league's entry draft that year, where the Detroit Red Wings chosen Mike Sillinger 11th overall from the Regina Pats of the WHL. Sillinger would remain with Regina for the next 2 years, scoring 245 points in 127 regular season games and 37 points in 20 playoff games before completing his junior career. As his professional career began, Mike played a handful of games in the Bigs, but spent each of the next 2 years in the AHL before earning a permanent spot on the Detroit Red Wings roster in the 1992-93 season. Though he played his first 130 games split over 5 years with Detroit and scored 60 points for his efforts, the Canadian forward would be shipped off on April 4th, 1995 as he was traded to the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim along with Jason York in exchange for Stu Grimson and Mark Ferner. Being sent to another team mid-season became exactly the second nature as Mike Sillinger became traded a grand total of 9 times, tying the record with Brett Ashton, but that's a story for another day. After moving to Anaheim, Mike played the next 77 games with the Mighty Ducks and scored 41 points before he was shipped off again on March 13, 1996. That is 11 months after he was first traded, but this time to the Vancouver Canucks for Roman Oksida. The Canadian center played his next 140 games split over 3 years with Vancouver and scored 60 points during his stint in Western Canada, before being traded once more on February 8, 1998 to the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for a 6th-round pick that year. Though Sillinger impressed Flyers fans early, scoring his first 22 points in the last 27 games of the 97-98 season, he only managed 3 assists in the first 25 games of the 98-99 season. This prompted Philly to trade him along with Chris Grant to the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for Damon Lankow and Michael Renberg. Sillinger then spent the next 121 games of his career with the Lightning and scored 54 points before moving teams once more on March 14, 2000 to the trade deadline, as he was sent to the Florida Panthers in exchange for Dwayne Hay and Ryan Johnson. At least he didn't have to go out of state this time. Whew. Having spent 70 regular season games with the Panthers, the Canadian center was once again traded on deadline day, this time to the Ottawa Senators in exchange for a 2nd-round pick in 2002. And this is now the 6th time in 7 years he had been traded, and I hope he had a loyalty card with American Airlines because, man, just talk about racking those air miles. As the 2000-2001 NHL season came to a close, scoring 7 points in the last 13 games to finish the year, Sillinger would be changing teams once more, but for the first time ever, it wasn't due to being traded. Instead, the Canadian forward signed a multi-year contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets, but his reputation of bouncing around different teams is far from over. The next 2 years saw the former first-round pick score 86 points in 155 games with the Blue Jackets organization. And during the 2003 offseason, Sillinger was traded not once, but twice, and both being on the same day. First, he was traded to the Dallas Stars in exchange for Daryl Sador, and he was shipped off to the Phoenix Coyotes in exchange for Teppo Numminen. As a result, Mike had been traded an overwhelming 7 times in his first 13 years. On a bit of a better note though, he managed to play for at least one team in every division in the league, but his journeyman job was not done yet. Sillinger played 60 games for the Coyotes during the 2003-2004 season and scored 14 points before being traded once more, this time to the St. Louis Blues in exchange for Brett Johnson. After suiting up for 64 games with the Blues over the next 2 years and scoring 51 points for his efforts, on February 2nd, 2006, the Canadian forward was traded for the 9th and last time in his career to the Nashville Predators in exchange for Timofey Shishkinov. In doing so, Sillinger joined his 11th NHL team and broke the league record for most teams played for by a single player previously owned by J.J. Dagenault. The Canadian forward finished the 05-06 season scoring 22 points in 31 games with the Preds before his contract expired and became an unrestricted free agent once more. At the age of 35 years old, Mike wanted to have one more chance he still belonged in the best league in the world. So on July 5th, 2006, the Canadian center signed a multi-year contract with the New York Islanders, the 12th and last NHL team he played for in his career. Sillinger played the last 152 games with the Islanders and scored the final 88 points in his career over 3 years before announcing his retirement on August 31st, 2009 due to lingering complications with his hips. Though he never really found more of a permanent home in the league, over 17 years in the National Hockey League, Mike Sillinger suited up for 1,049 games with 12 different franchises, scoring 548 points as well as 18 points in 43 playoff games to his resume. Also, of the 12 NHL teams the Canadian forward played for, he only went a full season with 4 of them. Wow! If you ever got a dictionary, and if you read Journeyman, I will not be surprised if I see Sillinger's face sitting there with a career like this. Having played for 12 different teams and being traded 9 times in his career, it's obvious that the Canadian forward never really found much consistency where he was playing from one year to the next. But hey, at least he without doubt did the best on what the league gave him and continued to be a point every other game player no matter where he played for the entirety of his run in the best league in the world. And that's not bad for an 11th overall pick in the NHL entry draft, wouldn't you think? This concludes the story of the man who suited up for 12 different teams in the National Hockey League. You can let me know in the comments on what you thought of Mike Sillinger's journeyman story. Also, is there another story from the NHL you would like me to tell? I would love to hear what you think. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in episode 5.